Hi, my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. I am very excited to do another reading wrap up. I am so behind on some of these, so I'll talk about 4 of the books that I read last week, and I will be back soon with another video, wrapping up some of my more recent reads. So let's jump into that. First, I thought I would talk about the book that I read out loud to my daughter. I read The Case of the Missing Marquess, which is the first Enola Holmes book by Nancy Springer. I thought that it was really great for my daughter. This is a mystery, but it's also supposed to be Sherlock Holmes' younger sister, and I liked the revisiting of characters that I loved as a kid. We have, Sherlock and Mycroft Holmes, and it's fun to go back into that same setting and place and get those mysteries. So I really did enjoy that aspect of the book. I thought the author did a really good job at balancing, making it seem like it was written in the time of Sherlock Holmes, but updating it for modern readers and for younger readers. And so I thought that it was a very good balance. It did show a lot of socially accepted sexism that took place during the time period, right? And I really appreciated it because of the way that it was presented. It didn't shy away from showing these instances of sexism, but it did show how egregious they could be. It worked well because my 8-year-old, as we read it, was able to pick up on it really well. It wasn't something that was subtle and just kind of insidious and getting into your head that, oh, women aren't as brilliant as men or whatever. It was egregious enough that my daughter could say, "That's not right. Mom, they're being sexist. This isn't okay." And you could see her sense of injustice coming up, and I thought that that was really good. I think the author did a pretty good job at trying to have a period accurate depiction of things that went on, but also showed it in a way that a modern reader can see what is being done. I think there were a couple instances that maybe weren't done quite so well. Some of the way that the author talks about the Romani people, I wasn't really on board with. And I understand that for the time period that she's trying to capture, that was the typical view. But instead of making it egregious enough that my daughter could pick up on it, it had some throwaway lines like, "Oh yes, that group of people is prone to larceny," and then just moves past it. And I thought that that was a pretty strong generalization to just throw in. There were some things that I'm like, okay, those are the subtle ones that I'm not thrilled about. But showing the period accurate sexism was really effective because it was something that my daughter could pick up on and understand why it was unfair. And so I thought it did a good job with that. And the mystery was fine. Was it that big of a mystery? No, but the characters were cute and it was fun. And so we're jumping into the next story, which so far feels like it has a little bit more involved of a mystery and isn't just setting up the story of how Enola Holmes is out solving crime. Now, Melinda at A Web of Stories recommended the book Hungry Heart, Adventures in Life, Love, and Writing by Jennifer Weiner. And this is a memoir / collection of essays talking about Jennifer's journey as an author. This was very listenable. It was fun to see her process with writing and hear a little bit about her life, and I thought that it was very fun. I liked her voice. I thought it was cute. There were moments when I thought she maybe lacked a little self-awareness. I thought that the discussion of literature that is written for women and how a lot of times it is devalued is very interesting. One of the things that made this not super successful for me was that it was written as a book, but then also a collection of essays. So some of the information was repeated a few times in different ways, and instead of feeling like I got more perspective, I just kind of felt like it was a little redundant. But it made me interested enough in Jennifer Weiner as a writer, because I thought her voice was fun, that I'm like, I need to pick up one of her books, right? I can't read this book about her being an author and then not pick up one of her books. So I got the audio of Mrs. Everything by Jennifer Weiner. And this book was very easy to read. As in, you start reading and you are captured. This is following the whole lifetime of two sisters, and it's following their family life, the death of their father, leading all the way up through their adult life, you know, the entire sweeping story of their life. And at its heart, it is really great talking about the relationship between these two sisters. And so I thought that was very relatable, and the voice was very fun and engaging. So I really enjoyed it that way. But I do think that Jennifer Weiner was trying to be relatable. And so I think anybody who reads this book will find something relatable in it. But it was almost too much. Because it was trying to be so relatable, I don't feel like there was a high impact from any one thing that she was trying to talk about, because we had too many things that happened. I mean, you can talk about, grief and death and drug addiction, and you can talk about abortion and sexuality, you could talk about betrayal and divorce, and you can talk about the struggles of motherhood, and you could talk about, there's just so many things that I just don't feel like we ever really settled into one. And even looking at the description for this book, it says, do we change or does the world change us? What a non-sentence is that? I had moments of feeling very connected to these characters because they had a lot of life experiences that would be very relatable to so many people. And the tone is so engaging and you feel connected to the characters. But it is a long book, and about halfway through, I'm listening and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened in this book. Like, it just was going on so long and so many things were happening that at a certain point, you're like, that's still the same book? We're still on this? And I think it was just because it didn't delve deep. And I understand that it was going across a whole life, and I'm not saying that those things can't happen in one lifetime. I just think that maybe focusing on one of those aspects maybe would have been more successful. And I just got to the end, and while I enjoyed my time reading it and it was very engaging, I kind of felt like, and? Okay. But there were moments of genuine connection that I felt in there. But I think that was almost by design. So I almost feel manipulated just because there was so much that nobody could read this and not find something that they relate to, right? The last book that I'm going to talk about for this video was a recommendation from Nicole at A Day of Small Things, so I will make sure to link her channel down below. And I picked up A Song for Ella Gray by David Almond. This is a modern retelling of Orpheus that is taking place in, I'm pretty sure, Ireland. I have thoughts on this book. My first thought is applause for doing something different, because while I love Madeline Miller and I love her Greek myth retellings, I feel like a lot of mythology retellings that I have read recently have been trying to emulate that style. And this was something very different in tone. It was very poetic and a little less concrete, and I thought that it was very fun to have something so different. So, you get points for doing something different. Now, this book suffered from being overwritten, I think. Everything was so much description. And was it very readable? Yes. But it kind of felt almost pretentious. And I think that my big debate that I had while going through this book is it pretentious because the author's writing is overwritten and is trying too hard? Or does it feel pretentious because this book is talking about teenagers, and teenagers are kind of that way, right? So maybe that's okay. I think that there were just some things in this that were so up in the air, not concrete enough, that it kind of felt like by the end you weren't quite sure everything that had happened, and some of the writing was just so overdone. But It was interesting, it was different, but maybe not my kind of book. This book is marketed to young adults, and I think that maybe a teenager would read this and think, this is beautiful, this is my personality now, I need to go sit out on the beach and be free, and maybe that's it. Maybe I'm the wrong audience because I look at it and say, wow, what a bunch of whiny teenagers, and didn't really connect with it that way. So fun to revisit Orpheus and that whole myth, very fun that way, but just so overwritten. As you can see, last week I definitely had some books that were a little mid, but I will be back with another book wrap up soon with some books that I had some stronger positive feelings about. I also will be back with another knitting wrap up, but this time I have not done a ton on my knitting because I started refinishing my dining table again. So wish me luck on that. I will do a knitting update probably in the next video, but for now, I'm just trying to survive the furniture refinishing process and not get too discouraged. So if you have any comments on these books, leave them down below and I will see you all on the next one.